I want you to close your eyes for a second. We're going to start with a visual that I think perfectly encapsulates the entire story we're covering today. It's the dead of night.
You're high up in the Colombian Andes, hiding in a safe house that's, it's barely even standing.
It's freezing, bone-chillingly cold,
Yeah.
and the wind is just howling through the cracks in the walls.
And inside this ruin, there's a man holding his little daughter. She's shivering, bordering on hypothermia. There's no heater, no firewood, nothing.
They are completely cut off.
Yeah.
But there is something else in the room. Stacks and stacks of cash. And to stop that chill, to keep his daughter warm for just one single night, the man grabs $2 million in U.S. currency and lights it on fire.
$2 million.
Yeah.
Gone, up in smoke in a few hours.
It sounds like a fable, doesn't it? Like some myth of a mad king. But this actually happened. The man, of course, was Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria.
And that image burning a fortune just to survive the night is the ultimate paradox.
Right. It's absolute wealth meeting absolute desperation. It's exactly where we need to start.
Today, we're doing a deep dive into the rise and fall of Pablo Escobar, based on the research packet, when $2 million became ash.
And what's really important for you, the listener, to know is that this isn't just another true crime story. We've all seen the shows.
Right. And if you just focus on the shootouts, you miss the actual lesson. The materials we've analyzed, they paint a much broader, darker picture. This isn't just biography, it's sociology.
It's a case study of a failed state.
Exactly. It's about what happens when a government becomes a ghost, and this huge vacuum opens up that just demands to be filled.
That's the core idea. How does a man go from stealing gravestones, which, yes, we will get to making $60 million a day, and then end up burning it all while on the run?
And why did the country let it happen? To understand the bonfire, you have to go back to the spark.
Yeah.
December 1st, 1949, Rio Negro, Colombia.
Pablo's birthplace. And his background, looking at the dossier, it's surprisingly normal. His dad was a farmer, his mom a schoolteacher.
No Godfather-style lineage here. He wasn't born into crime.
But he was born into a country that was, well, bleeding out. The context here is just so crucial. In the 40s and 50s, Colombia was tearing itself apart.
They literally called the period La Violencia, the violence.
It's subtle.
Accurate, though. Hundreds of thousands of deaths. And because of all that chaos, the source material describes the Colombian state at the time as a ghost.
That phrase really stuck with me. The state was a ghost. Can we unpack that? It feels foundational.
It means the law existed in books, in Bogota, but not on the street. In the slums, the institutions that are supposed to protect you, they just weren't there.
So the police were either corrupt or just too weak.
Right. The streets belonged to whoever had the gun. So you have young Pablo growing up, watching his father break his back for a system that gave him nothing.
And he's seeing this huge disparity in Medellín, right? On one side, you have the ultra-elite, and on the other, just slums. He looks at this and realizes the game is rigged.
That's the key psychological shift. He decided that honest work, like his father's, was a sucker's bet. It only led to poverty.
And he had this, unwavering confidence.
Almost delusional. He wasn't the smartest kid, but he challenged authority constantly. He realized that money was the only shortcut to respect.
So he decides to get rich. And the how is totally irrelevant. Which brings us to his early crimes, and honestly, it's even darker than I expected.
Yeah, it didn't start with drugs. It started with the dead.
He would steal gravestones.
From cemeteries. Pry up the marble, sand off the names, and then resell them to new grieving families.
Wow. That shows a complete lack of moral boundaries from the very beginning.
It shows he viewed everything as a commodity, even grief. From there, it was cars, fake lottery tickets.
Yeah.
But the real lesson was what happened when he got caught.
Which was?
He just bought his freedom. A few pesos, and he was out. Every single time.
Everything has a price.
Exactly. He realized the system wasn't just weak, it was for sale. And if you can buy the system, then you can own the system.
That is a terrifying realization for a man like that.
It validated his entire worldview. The law was just a suggestion for poor people.
So let's fast forward. It's the late 60s, early 70s. He's moved past gravestones. And this is where the real pivot happens. The industry shifts.
And this is where his business acumen comes in. Pablo was a brutal criminal, but he was also a logistical genius.
Before this, smuggling was all cigarettes, alcohol, that kind of thing.
Right, the Marlboro Man stuff. High volume, low margin. You need a whole truck full of stolen TVs to make a real profit.
And then comes cocaine.
The white gold.
Yeah.
At first, it was a niche product, mostly for the American elite. But Pablo, he crunched the numbers. He saw the potential for scale.
From a smuggler's perspective, it's the perfect product, isn't it?
No, it's a dream. It's compact. It has no smell, so dogs couldn't detect it easily back then. You can hide $1 million worth of product in one suitcase.
And the demand side is built in.
It's chemically addictive. Your customers have to come back. The source material has this one stat that just blew my mind.
What's that?
A single successful shipment could cover the financial losses of 10 failed ones.
10. That's a staggering safety net. You can lose 90% of the time and still break even.
Exactly. It changes the entire risk calculation. So he starts as a middleman, but that's not enough for him. He wants to be the CEO.
He analyzes the whole supply chain.
And realizes the real money is in controlling the source and the distribution. Vertical integration.
Like Ford or Amazon, but for narcotics.
Precisely. He industrialized it. This wasn't a guy with bags in a suitcase. This was a global logistics network. We're talking islands in the Caribbean just to refuel planes.
Norman's Cay.
Right. He had primary routes, backup routes. If a pilot was arrested, a replacement was on standby. If a plane was seized...
Another was already in the air. He turned crime into a machine.
But a machine needs oil to run. And in this case, the oil was corruption. Massive systemic corruption.
You can't just fly planes into Florida without someone looking the other way.
He put everyone on the payroll. Border officials, judges, customs, everyone had a fixed rate. It wasn't a negotiation, it was a salary.
And if you didn't take the money, if you were that one honest cop...
Well, that brings us to his most famous management policy. Plata o plomo.
Silver or lead.
It's a binary choice.
Yeah.
Take the bribe, the silver, or take the bullet, the lead. And he was not fluffing.
There's that incident with the rival smuggler, Fabio Restrepo. That feels like a turning point.
A huge turning point.
Yeah.
Restrepo was interfering, feeding info to the police. The old way might have been to rough him up.
Pablo chose the permanent solution.
He had him murdered. And that changed everything in the underworld. Violence stopped being an emotional reaction. It became a business tool, a line item in the budget.
It killed the competition. No one else was willing to go that far that fast.
And at the same time, he's building an army,
Mm-hmm.
recruiting these young men from the slums who had absolutely nothing to lose.
He offers them a simple deal.
Unquestioning loyalty for wealth they could never imagine. And here's the nuance. He kept his word. If he promised you payment, you got paid. He cultivated trust right alongside the fear.
So by the mid-70s, the machine is just printing money. The numbers are hard to even comprehend.
$60 million in 24 hours.
It actually became a logistical nightmare. Just the physical space of all that cash. They ran out of rubber band.
They ran out of places to put it. You can't walk into a bank with that much dirty cash.
So what did they do?
They buried it in fields, in warehouse walls, cellars. And the reports say billions, with a B, were lost every year.
Lost how?
Water damage, mold, and rats.
Rats were eating billions of dollars.
Rats nibbling on stacks of hundreds. And the cartel just wrote it off as the cost of doing business.
That's a level of wealth where money stops having meaning. Which brings us to Hacienda Maples. This wasn't just a house.
It wasn't a home, it was a sovereign state. A private zoo with hippos from Africa. Airstrips, a bull ring. It was a projection of power. I am above the law, I am the king.
But he didn't just want to be rich. He wanted to be loved. He wanted legitimacy.
Yeah, this is the Robin Hood strategy. He poured money into the poor neighborhoods of Medellín, built housing projects, soccer fields, handed out cash.
He was providing services where the state, that ghost state, was completely absent.
He filled the vacuum. And the people, they prayed for him. They hid him. And that adoration gave him a very dangerous idea.
That he could actually be part of the legitimate government.
And this is the part that just always blows my mind. 1982. Pablo Escobar, the world's biggest drug trafficker, gets elected to the Colombian Congress.
It was pure hubris, the moment he flew too close to the sun.
Because the underworld relies on shadows. Politics relies on headlines. The second he stepped into the light, he was a target.
And that's when Luis Carlos Galán enters the picture.
Senator Galán, a true reformer. And he was brave. He stood up and called Pablo exactly what he was, a narco-trafficker.
He refused to be bought.
And he had the evidence. He dug up old mugshots from Pablo's car theft days. And Pablo gets kicked out of Congress.
A massive blow to his ego.
It destroyed him. This wasn't a political setback for him. It was a personal humiliation.
Yeah.
And he viewed it as the elites spitting in his face one more time.
So the mask comes off. The Congressman Act is over. It's over. He decides that if the state won't accept him, he will break the state. And this is when the one thing that truly terrified him comes into play. Extradition.
Better a grave in Colombia than a cell in the U.S.?
That was his mantra. The idea of rotting in an American prison where his money meant nothing, that was worse than death. So he declared war to stop it.
And we mean literal war, terror.
Total war. The late 80s, assassinating judges, killing police for bounties. He put a price tag on the head of every cop in Medellín.
Car bombs in shopping malls, just trying to terrorize the population into submission.
But the darkest moment, the point of no return, has to be Avianca Flight 203.
1989. This is where he crossed the line from criminal to full-blown terrorist. He wanted to kill a presidential candidate, Cesar Gaviria.
His intel said Gaviria would be on that flight, so he had a bomb planted on a commercial airliner. It exploded midair. Over 100 innocent people died.
And the target, Gaviria,
wasn't even on the plane.
That's horrifying. Mass murder for nothing. It paralyzed the country, but it also changed the equation. The state realized it had to fight back or cease to exist. They formed the Search Bloc, a special police unit, backed by U.S. tech, to hunt him.
But even then, there's that bizarre surrender in 1991.
The government blinked. They cut a deal to ban extradition, and Pablo agreed to surrender, but only if he could build his own prison.
La Catedral.
Which was a prison in name only, a luxury fortress. He had jacuzzis, a soccer field. He was running the cartel by fax from his jail cell.
The government just let him do this.
They were desperate for peace. But Pablo couldn't help himself. He started torturing and killing his own men inside the prison.
So the government finally decides to move him to a real jail.
And Pablo just walks out the back door.
Yeah.
July 1992, he escapes.
Kicking off the final chapter, the end game.
But now the dynamic had shifted. He was no longer the hunter, he was the prey. The Search Bloc was after him, and so was a new group.
Los Pepes. Who were they?
People persecuted by Pablo Escobar, a coalition of rival cartels, victims' families, and they used Pablo's own tactics against him. They dismantled his network, killing his lawyers, burning his properties.
So he was totally isolated?
Completely. His money couldn't buy security anymore. He was on the run, hiding, separated from his family.
Which brings us full circle back to that bonfire we started with.
Yes. That night in the mountains, his empire is gone, his daughter's freezing, and he has millions in cash, but it's useless. So he burns it.
The money that represented his absolute power was reduced to just fuel.
It was the beginning of the end. He was cornered, and his only weakness left was his family. He kept trying to call them.
December 2nd, 1993, the day after his 44th birthday.
He stayed on the line too long. He knew better, but he was desperate to hear his son's voice. They triangulated the signal to a house in Medellín.
And that was it. The raid, the shootout across the rooftops.
The man who was once untouchable died alone on a common rooftop, shoeless and gunned down.
A brutal end. But the story doesn't quite end there, does it? The aftermath is so complicated.
Extremely. Thousands of people came to his funeral, some celebrating the death of a monster, others were mourning a messiah, wailing in the streets for the man who built their houses.
It just highlights that divide. The failure of the state created the loyalty that sustained him.
It does. And here's the hard truth, and really the core message of this deep dive. His death didn't stop the cocaine trade.
Not at all.
Not even for a day. It just changed the faces running it. The Cali cartel took over immediately. Because Pablo wasn't the root cause, he was a symptom.
A symptom of the failed state.
Exactly. As long as you have that inequality, that vacuum of law and that global demand, someone will always rise to fill the void.
It's so easy to see the romanticized version in pop culture, the rebel against the system.
But that's a dangerous fiction. He wasn't a revolutionary. He was a product of a broken system who broke it even further for his own gain.
The source material ends with a really profound thought. It argues that, in a way, Pablo won everything he set out to win. Money, fame, fear.
But he lost the one thing money couldn't buy.
Peace. When peace is gone, even the greatest victory feels like a defeat.
That's the takeaway. You can own the world. But if you have to burn your fortune just to stay warm while the world wants you dead, what do you really have?
A heavy but necessary place to leave it. Thank you for listening to this deep dive. It's a story about a man, but it's really a story about how we build or fail to build our societies.
Absolutely. Thanks for listening.
We'll catch you on the next one.